How much does it cost for 3 generations to live together in rural Vietnam? Hello everyone, I'm Lee, and I live in the countryside of Vietnam. I live together with my parents, my wife, and our 2 young sons. Today, I'll show you how much it actually costs for a 3-generation family to live in rural Vietnam. Let's follow my wife throughout the day and break down every expense together. First, transportation. Unlike modern cities with metro systems, people in rural Vietnam mainly get around by bicycles and electric bicycles. We only use a motorbike when we need to travel a longer distance. This electric bicycle has been with my wife and me for 7 years, ever since we got married. Even today, it still works perfectly. We charge it once every 5 days. A full charge uses about 1 kilowatt hour of electricity, costing only around 3,500 Vietnamese dong, or about 13 cents. Like most people in the countryside, my wife shops at the local morning market. Today she brings 100,000 Vietnamese dong, about $3.50 for today's groceries. If you want the freshest food, you have to wake up early. Markets like this only operate in the morning, usually from 6 a.m. until around 10 a.m. Have you ever heard of Vietnamese steamed rice rolls, known as bánh cuốn? It's one of the most popular breakfast dishes in rural Vietnam. Thin sheets of steamed rice batter are topped with crispy fried shallots, making them soft, fragrant, and slightly rich in flavor. Here, $1 can buy almost 1 kilogram. This morning, my wife spends about 50 cents on breakfast. Now she's deciding what to cook for lunch. Let me share something personal with you. I'm a freelance laborer. My income is unstable. On average, I earn around $300 a month, and I give about $250 to my wife to manage our family's expenses. As for my wife, she has been unemployed for almost 2 years. Ever since COVID, life has become much harder. She also struggles with chronic sinusitis and high blood pressure. We're both doing our best just to keep our family going. Seasonal fruits in rural Vietnam are incredibly fresh and affordable. We rarely buy imported fruit because it's simply too expensive for us. 1 kilogram of imported envy apples costs around $10. That's almost an entire day's income for me. Instead, my wife buys 3 local melons for only 10,000 Vietnamese dong, around 35 cents. They're sweet, juicy, and in season right now. Most of the vendors at this village market are farmers themselves. They grow a small amount of produce and bring it here to sell. That's why people often receive a little extra for free, just like my wife. After buying 3 bitter melons, she politely asks for a few spring onions. The vendor happily gives them to her. It's a small gesture, but one that reflects the warmth of village life. Next, she buys 3 bitter melons for another 10,000 Vietnamese dong. Then 2 blocks of fresh tofu for 10,000 dong. And finally, some pork for 23,000 dong, about $1. When we returned to the bánh cuốn stall, the lady had completely forgotten my wife's order. So we ended up skipping breakfast today. My wife is one of the kindest people I know. She never gets angry. She simply smiles. We've been together for 15 years. The harder life becomes, the more grateful I feel for having her beside me. We don't often say romantic words to each other. We don't really need to. Sometimes, one look into each other's eyes is enough. At an age when many men have already built successful careers and can give their wives and children a comfortable life, I'm still working day by day, never knowing how much I'll earn tomorrow. My children are growing up so fast. I know my responsibility is to give them a better future. Sometimes, thinking about that makes me feel overwhelmed. But my wife never complains. Instead, she encourages me through the simplest actions. She is incredibly careful with money, and somehow, using only simple ingredients, she always fills our kitchen with warmth and delicious meals. Do you think so too? Sometimes, happiness doesn't come from luxury. It comes from the simplest things. A meal cooked in $1 million kitchen means very little if you're eating it alone. But a simple family meal, shared with the people you love, that feels priceless. Today my wife is cooking stuffed bitter melon soup. In Vietnam, this vegetable has different names depending on the region. Some people call it moop dang, which literally means bitter gourd. Others call it co qua. In Vietnamese culture, the bitterness of this fruit symbolizes life's hardships. Eating it represents the hope of overcoming difficult times. What about your country? Do you have this vegetable? What do you call it? I'd love to know. Please leave me a comment. I'd be very happy to connect with you. My wife cooks incredibly fast. She prepares the rice, washes the vegetables, seasons the meat, and cooks everything in only 30 minutes. She used to work in a garment factory. Years of sewing gave her quick hands and incredible patience. This year, she turns 40 years old. But to me, she is still just as beautiful as the first day we met. I love her, not only because she spent her youth beside me, but because she has devoted so much of her life to my family. In rural Vietnam, it's still very common for 3 or even 4 generations to live under one roof. Is it complicated? Sometimes. Different generations naturally have different habits and ways of thinking. But in my family, my mother probably loves my wife even more than she loves me. She helped care for our children from the day they were born. Whenever my wife gets sick, my mother worries the most. My father constantly reminds me of my responsibility as the man of the family. In Vietnam, there's a saying, a daughter-in-law becomes family. A son-in-law is still treated like a guest. It reflects how deeply many Vietnamese families value their daughters-in-law, because they believe a daughter-in-law will spend more of her life caring for the family than even their own daughters. Thanks to my parents' kindness, our home has always been peaceful. Sometimes I ask my wife, "Do you ever want us to move out and live separately?" She always smiles and says, "No." She says she's grown used to living in the love of my parents, and one day, she wants to care for them when they become old. In Vietnam, nursing homes are still relatively uncommon. The biggest reason is simple. Most elderly people want to spend their final years surrounded by their children and grandchildren. And children like me hope we can personally take care of our parents when they grow old. For us, this is more than tradition. It is our way of showing gratitude. It is also how we teach our own children, because children learn far more by watching what their parents do than by listening to what their parents say. Our family meal today is very simple. Thankfully, my children have never complained about it. One day, I heard my little boy quietly say he wanted to eat fried chicken drumsticks. That moment stayed in my heart. I hope that one day soon, I'll have a better job, a more stable income, so I can take both of my boys out to eat whatever they want, without having to check my wallet first. I'll keep working hard for them.